Hi, this is Eric from OmniFit, and I have a special guest today. He's someone that, if I think I'm correct, he called himself a foot nerd. If I think I'm correct, I think he called himself a foot nerd. So I wanted to speak to not just any nerd, but a foot one today. His name is Andy Bryant from Melbourne. I'm pretty sure it's Melbourne, Australia.
That's correct.
And I wanted to speak to him today about feet and why feet are so important. So, Andy, can you come? Thank you so much. And can you just give us a little intro about yourself?
Hi, guys. I'm a podiatrist in Melbourne, Australia. That's correct. And I've been a podiatrist for 20 years, but maybe 5 years ago, I started doing some yoga and my feet started getting stronger. And, traditionally podiatrists make orthotics and instruct people to wear supportive shoes. And just through my own practice and then my family changing and then building it into my clients as well, I noticed that we can make our feet stronger rather than relying upon support. And so I now run my own little practice where I look after, people with that in mind rather than prescribing orthotics and chunky footwear, basically. A minimalist approach or a barefoot approach is what I would call it. Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I'm glad you said that because you said a lot of really good things. So, Andy, as a podiatrist, and, I work with seniors, and we just talked about that earlier before we started. How many people do you notice, that you work with that are like older? Do you see a lot of older people?
Yeah, definitely. I'm still a traditional practice in terms of the people I see. I'm dealing with a lot of people that just need their nails cut or they've got a corn or a callus. And that's what a lot of podiatrists do. And so I do a lot of that work. And that's generally people over 60 that don't have the mobility to do it themselves. And so I could help them with their mobility, but they're not even that keen to learn their mobility to benefit, or do the things. So, I do see a lot of people. A lot of them are wearing shoes that are inappropriate for their age group because they're more likely to fall or damage themselves and damage their feet, which aren't as resilient as they once were.
That's an awesome question. So even for my first major question, I want to just touch on what you said. Why is footwear so important for seniors, or the right footwear?
So, we see some people wearing shoes that they might have used to have worn in the office, like a heel and a pointy toe. And when our other parts of our body aren't as able, in terms of balance and mobility and stability, then we really need to maximize our body's ability to do those things, to not fall over, to be able to be mobile. And so our feet play a huge role in that. So if we are in that pointy shoe or that slightly heeled shoe, or even a chunky runner with a big cushion on it, we're pretty much numbing the effects of the way the foot moves naturally, and we're taking away some of the feedback that our feet can give us to help us stay mobile and to stay upright. And our feet are a great source of information to the rest of our body to be able to function properly. So, a lot of most people don't know this, and they're just going about doing what they think is best, putting more support in, sticking to the shoes they've always worn. But, if I would be out of a job if everyone wore a shoe that just allowed their foot to be a foot, and I'd be happily out of a job because most of my work is because people are wearing bad shoes, and that's people 60 plus are wearing shoes that are just meaning they're not as mobile and they're causing damage to their feet because of their shoes.
Yes. Well, I think you really touched on a lot of good things. Number one, I think you touched on, if I'm correct, you touched on like proprioception for the feet, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. And so why is, when we talk about shoes, we talk about proprioception, why are the feet just in general like so important for like balance? Like, because that's really important for a lot of seniors. Why are the feet, proprioception, shoes, why are all those things so important for balance?
Well, I think a good test for people to do, and maybe the people listening to this could try it, is to take their shoes off and try and stand on one leg and leave their shoes on and stand on one leg near a bench or something so they're not going to fall over if they do fall out of balance. But generally speaking, you'll find that you balance a lot better when you don't have anything on your feet. And that's because your feet are giving you, through proprioception, which is the body's ability to know itself or where it is in space, your feet are integral to that situation. And so if they're getting that feedback, they are then you are more stable. Your toes are splayed and your foot is getting all this feedback. There's not more weight on your forefoot that a heel does give you. And then to take that further, okay, we're not going to go barefoot all the time, but there are shoes that mimic that situation, and they are a thin-soled shoe, so they let your feet feel movement and feel things under the ground. They're flat, so there's not a higher heel.
Yes.
They're flexible. They're flexible, so that the joints give us a lot of feedback as to where we are in space and keep us balanced. And so when you have a flexible sole on your foot rather than a stiff or cushion sole, when we have that, we are able to know where we are, like our body's telling us where we are in space, and we're less likely to fall. And then the final thing in these shoes that mimic us being barefoot is that they've got splay, or a wider forefoot than most shoes, and so they let our toes spread, and that gives us great balance, just because it's a greater base of support.
Oh, that's really awesome information. That's kind of like really touches on, like, if you haven't checked out Andy's Instagram page, I definitely recommend everyone, if you have Instagram. Do you have Facebook all the way too, Andy, or only Instagram?
I do, but and sometimes my Instagram connects across to Facebook, but sometimes it doesn't. But mostly it's on Instagram, and I usually just like copy and paste the stuff over there. But yeah, anyway, I guess on my Instagram page, I'm just trying to educate the masses to better understand how their feet function naturally, and it's not for everyone, but if we all start, like if we never put shoes on from like the age of 4, we start putting cushioned heeled shoes on our kids. If we never did, then there'd be a whole epidemic of, knee surgeries and hip surgeries. I'm sure you deal with a lot of knee replacements and hip surgeries. And I think it's got a lot to do with the footwear that we wear that gives us a huge amount of cushioning for our feet. But that in turn loads up the joints further up the chain, like our knees and our hips.
Yeah.
The pressure from the ground doesn't go elsewhere. It just goes somewhere else, and it goes to our knees and our hips. And if you're in that for a lifetime, that's when you need a new knee or you need a new hip.
Oh, I mean, thank you so much, Andy. I want to ask one more question before we finish.
Yeah.
Is you talk about the feet. What are some simple tips, whether it comes to that seniors can do? I know one is obviously looking at your shoes. One is obviously, I'm assuming, doing some balance work or balance training for seniors. Are there any other things, whether it has to do with walking or anything else, that seniors can do to really make a difference in terms of their overall health?
Yeah. So just to touch on the shoes, I would tell people to look up minimalist shoes, or barefoot shoes. And it sounds a bit hippie, but once you look them up, you'll see that they look pretty normal, and that's a good start. To go barefoot around home is not a bad thing, and that's a great start. So just because home is such a safe space and you're less likely to fall, and so to go barefoot, then every step is like a bicep curl for the foot. Like you're building up strength in your foot with every step. When you are using your when you're going barefoot around home, and you might just start with like 15 minutes for the first day if you're not used to it, and then 20 minutes the next day, and slowly build up time barefoot at home. That would be a huge thing. I would also even use a tennis ball or a golf ball regularly to massage the sole of the foot. This has such a great benefit to so many different things. It's like the basic thing that nearly everyone I see gets given that exercise to do, to massage the sole of their foot with a tennis ball or a stiff rubber ball, a lacrosse ball. It's amazingly good at giving your foot feedback and getting it used to deep pressure, which helps us with balance so much. And the other thing that I would suggest doing is trying to wiggle your toes, which sounds a bit silly, but we are so disconnected from our feet. If we can get our brain back in connection with our feet, then our balance improves immediately. Our foot function improves immediately. So trying to lift your big toe up and leaving the other ones down, and then lifting the little ones up and pushing them down. That would be the 3 take-home things that I would suggest for anyone, let alone the elderly. Yeah.
It's crazy that you just talked about the foot and the ball on the foot. That's exactly what I tell. I had a group of ladies. I have to tell you this story. I had a group of ladies. In the last 2 weeks, I've been telling them, take a tennis ball, rub it under your foot. The first week or so they did it, it was like, it's so painful. It hurts so much. I told them, if you keep doing it, your foot is going to eventually not feel as painful. I spoke to these ladies yesterday. You would not believe this. They said to me, Eric, it doesn't hurt as much as it did before. And I said, you know why? Because your body's getting used to the feeling of doing it, right?
And then they'll get to the point where they long for it,
Yeah.
And it's similar when you wear minimalist shoes. When you first put them on, you feel everything under your foot. But within like a couple of weeks, you're searching for every feel under your foot. You want that feedback,
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
So awesome. I have to ask this question because it's really important. I have to ask this question. Do you notice, and I had a question that someone told me, and I think I got a few answers from the internet, but I have to ask you this question. Have you seen a connection between the feet and people having like plantar fasciitis and people that have osteoporosis?
Um, I don't see a direct connection because
Mm,
plantar fasciitis is often that's like a connective tissue problem. Osteoporosis, then is it because they've not been doing weight bearing exercise enough? Maybe they've tried to start doing more weight bearing exercise, and that's triggered their
yeah.
plantar fasciitis. I don't see a direct connection. Maybe, yeah, like it's hard to know. Yeah, are you seeing that connection?
Yeah, well, it's the only thing I've read recently is that, just because of the foot mechanics
Yeah,
changing and then someone's posture changing, particularly if they have
yeah,
osteoporosis, it might cause more issues with their, I guess, just the biomechanics of the body. But
it
they said
is.
there's
Yeah,
no, yeah, they said it's just good to see a podiatrist in general, just in general.
yeah,
But they just noticed there's a lot of people that have plantar fasciitis and
yeah.
osteoporosis. But I think it's probably, regardless of the fact, it's probably good to see a podiatrist, period. You know what I
Yeah, it
mean?
is. Although a lot of podiatrists will put you in orthotics and cushioned and heeled and supportive shoes. And so what I advocate is a bit different in that we're trying to get our foot stronger rather than just supporting it. If you hurt
Mm,
your neck and you tweaked your neck, you might wear a neck brace if you tweaked it really badly. You might wear it for like 3 weeks, but you wouldn't wear it forever. You would then go to rehab and start rehabbing and strengthening your neck. You're not going to wear a brace forever.
brace forever.
Even an orthotic and cushioned shoes and stiff supportive shoes are like a brace on your feet forever. And so often I think we see plantar fasciitis because the foot's become so weak because it's been braced forever. Like if you
Yeah,
had a neck brace on forever and then you took it off, your neck's probably going to get sore. And it's
yeah.
similarly with our feet. They get sore when we support them for a long time and then take the support away. So we have to do it very gently and then build it up, and your foot will get stronger and you won't need the support so much.
Well, Andy, I want to say thank you so much. Your information was awesome. I want to say thank you so much. If anyone can check out Andy Bryant's Facebook/ and Instagram page, because that's where he has tons of information. Please do. Andy, thank you so much. If you have any last words, I'd love for you to close us on this little interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And I can't overstate the importance of the feet. Like, don't take them for granted.
Oh,
And
Andy, thank you. Go ahead. Go ahead,
and
Andy.
sorry about me standing under a street light. It's like I've been. It's very close to Halloween, so maybe it looks like that.
Yeah, it's all good. We also realize, audience, that he is in a different time zone. So he's not where we are. So we have to accept the fact that things are going to be different. Andy, thank you so much. Take care.